Okay, so let's compile this Java class. Okay, so I'm just going to click Build, and I'm going to say Compile. Okay, and that's okay, actually, the errors. It still worked. It did actually compile that. Okay, and then go back up to your BND file, okay, where you have your workflow, and build out that bundle. So here I'm going to say build, and then I'm going to say build bundle. Okay, and that should build the bundle successfully. Okay, so now let's try to use this new custom Java class directly inside of a workflow step. So I'm going to go back to CQ here, and then I'm going to go back to my workflow panel. I'm going to click on the Models tab here, and then I'm going to create a workflow by choosing New from the toolbar. So I'm going to create a brand new workflow, and let's call this Approval. And now you should see it has a start, an end, and a step 1 once we create our new approval workflow. So go ahead and open it up. Okay. So now we can, again, edit step 1. We can double-click the step itself. Okay, and you'll see, again, assign the following values for the step 1 properties. So I'm going to say final edit of content, and then I'll say content validation. And then the user and group that I want involved in this, I'll say will be the group called contributors. Okay, so there I'm going to set that up to be contributors. Now I'm going to add a process step directly to my workflow. Okay, if you scroll down here, you should see there's a setting up here called process step where it says workflow. In your Sidekick, just drag and drop a process step here onto the workflow model, and then open up the dialog box for your process step. Let's call the title Final Approval. And then for the description, we'll say Set Approved Property. And now if you go to Process, we should see our custom implementation that we just built. This should automatically appear here because we did it with CRXDE. Now, it may not be alphabetical, okay, but it is in this case, good. And you'll see here's my sample workflow process. That's the custom OSGI bundle that we just wrote. So say my sample workflow. So now make sure you have that set up. Okay, your timeout settings, you can leave that alone. And go ahead and click OK. And then click Save. The Save button's kind of hidden right up here, but go ahead and click on Save. So there's your new workflow process. All right, and now if we go and actually test our custom workflow, so go over to Websites, and let's look at our training site here, okay, and you'll see we have a bunch of different pages. Let's go to the Services page here, and let's click on Workflow, and then I'll choose my new approval workflow that I just wrote, and I'll click Start. You should be able to see that your page is now subject to workflow, so it says that there, and now if I go over here and I look in my inbox, the administrator is a contributor. So you'll see that that appears directly in my mailbox. And now if I highlight this and I click Complete, I click OK, you'll see my custom workflow worked fine. And all that Java class did was write an approved variable directly back to the repository. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the repository. So I'll go into CRXDE. So I'll go localhost CRXDE. And let's just take a look and see if that variable is in fact there under my services page where I ran the workflow. So to do that, I'll go to Content, Training Site, okay, English, Services, JCR Content, and look at that. First one, there's my approved variable. That's what the Java class wrote as part of my custom workflow. It wrote that directly back to the repository, so I have that information stored. That's how you build a custom workflow using an OSGI bundle in CQ.